What's up, CEO Black Chick Nation? Today is an amazing day, and this is a very, very, very special edition of CEO Black Kings Monday because today is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This is the day that was made to celebrate and honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. So today's video is very, very special. We are going to do a very small tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King, but we are aiming to honor all of the amazing things that he has done for us. And personally, being from Montgomery, Alabama, I am truly, truly honored to be able to do this video and do this brief tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. So I hope that you all enjoy it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we are going to get started. Born as Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was the middle child of Michael King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. Among his many efforts, King headed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Through his activism and inspirational speeches, he played a pivotal role in ending the legal segregation of African American citizens in the United States, as well as the creation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Martin Luther King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, among several other honors. He was assassinated April 1968 and continues to be remembered as one of the most influential and inspirational African American leaders in history. As we delve into more of the history of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I hope that you all take this tribute, watch it, and share it with many among you. In 1931, Michael King Sr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, stepped in as pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church upon the death of his father-in-law. He too became a successful minister and adopted the name Martin Luther King Sr. in honor of the German Protestant religious leader Martin Luther. In time, Michael Jr., who we know as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., would follow in his father's lead and adopt the name Martin Luther himself. During the work on his doctorate, Martin Luther King Jr. met Coretta Scott. They were married in June of 1953 and had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott, and Bernice. In 1954, while still working on his dissertation, King became the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama. He completed his PhD and earned his degree in 1955. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was only 25 years old. On March 2nd of 1955, a 15-year-old girl refused to give up her seat to a white man on a Montgomery bus. That was considered a violation of the local law. Her name, Claudette Colvin. She was arrested and taken to jail. And at first, the local chapter of the NAACP felt that they had an excellent test case to challenge the Montgomery's segregated bus policy. It was soon revealed that Claudette Colvin was pregnant, and civil rights leaders felt that that would cause scandal or bring scandal to the movement that they were trying to ensue upon. On December 1st, 1955, the NAACP got another chance to make their case. On that evening, a 42-year-old Rosa Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus so that she can head home after a very long, exhausting day at work. She sat in the first row of the colored section that was located in the middle of the bus. The driver noticed that there were several white men standing and demanded that Rosa Parks and several other African Americans give up their seats to the standing white men. 3 African American passengers reluctantly gave up their places, but Rosa Parks remained seated. This was the spark to the Montgomery bus boycott. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was elected to lead the bus boycott because it was felt that he would have strong credibility with the black community. In his first speech as the group's president, King declared, "We have no alternative but to protest. For many years, we have shown an amazing patience. We have sometimes given our white brothers the feeling that we liked the way we were being treated. But we come here tonight to be saved from the patience that makes us patient with anything less than freedom and justice." That quote led to the bus boycott, which involved 382 days of walking to work, harassment, violence, and intimidation for Montgomery's African American community. After being defeated in several lower court rulings and suffering large financial loss, the city of Montgomery lifted the law mandating segregated public transportation. Fast forward to the spring of 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. organized a demonstration in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. Families attended, and city police officers turned dogs and fire hoses on the demonstrators. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was jailed along with a number of his supporters, but the event drew nationwide attention. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was personally criticized by black and white clergy alike for taking the risk and endangering children who attended the demonstration. In his famous letter from Birmingham jail, King eloquently spelled out his theory of nonviolence. He said in a direct quote, "Nonviolent direct attention seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue." On August 28th of 1963, the historic March on Washington drew more than 200,000 people in the shadows of the Lincoln Memorial. And it was here that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, emphasizing his belief that someday all men could be brothers and sisters. From the late 1965 through 1967, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. expanded his civil rights efforts into other large American cities that included Los Angeles as well as Chicago. He was met with increasing criticism and public challenges from young black power leaders. But Martin Luther King Jr. was patient, and he presented his nonviolent approach and his appeal to white middle-class citizens, which alienated many black militants who considered his methods too weak, too late, and ineffective. To address the criticisms, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. began making a link between discrimination and poverty, and he began to speak out against the Vietnam War. He sought to broaden his base by forming a multi-race coalition to address the economic and unemployment problems of all disadvantaged people. By 1968, the years of demonstrations and confrontations were beginning to wear on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He had grown tired of the marches, tired of going to jail, and tired of living in constant threats of death. He was becoming discouraged at the slow progress of the civil rights in America and the increasing criticism from other African American leaders. Plans were in the works for another march on Washington to revive the movement and bring attention to the widening range of issues of discrimination. By the spring of 1968, a labor strike by Memphis sanitation workers drew Dr. Martin Luther King to one of his last crusades. On April 3rd, he began his final of what proved to be a prophetic speech, "I've been to the mountaintop." It was in this speech that he told supporters at the Mason Temple in Memphis, Tennessee, quotes, "I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land." The next day, standing on a balcony outside of his room at the Lorraine Motel, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by the bullet from a sniper. The shooter, a former convicted felon named James Earl Ray, who was eventually found after a 2-month international manhunt. The assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. sparked riots and demonstrations in more than 100 cities across the country. In 1969, James Earl Ray pleaded guilty to assassinating Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and he was sentenced to 99 years in prison. He died in prison on April the 23rd of 1998. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed into law a bill creating Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday that would honor the legacy of the slain civil rights leader. This holiday was first celebrated in 1986 and later was celebrated in all 50 states in 2000. It is such a privilege as the CEO and founder of CEO Black Chicks to honor a true CEO Black King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are so grateful for all that he did for us. And on this day, we say thank you. You guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please comment below some of your favorite Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, speeches, anything that you have to share. And we thank you for celebrating this amazing CEO Black King with us on today. I think that it is so imperative for us to understand the climate of the United States and the world today. And given what that climate is, I think that it is so imperative for us to remember this from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I have been to the mountaintop" speech. Now let me say, as I move to my conclusion, that we've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end. Nothing would be more tragic than to stop at this point in Memphis. We've got to see it through. And when we have our march, you need to be there. If it means leaving work, if it means leaving school, be there. Be concerned about your brother. You may not be on strike, but either we go up together or we go down together. Let us develop a kind of dangerous unselfishness. That is so imperative, and I think that speaks volumes to where we are right now in the United States of America. We must stand together, and we have to know and understand that there is strength in numbers. I love you all so much. Once again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for a very, very special edition of Turn Up Tuesday. I have a song for y'all that I think that y'all are going to truly love. And I hope that it speaks volumes to you. Once again, happy Martin Luther King Day.